Donald Trump's desperate cover up of the Epstein files continues. We're not sure who he is covering for other than himself, but it seems like many of the powerful men who thought they were untouchable are not sleeping through the night and spending a fuck ton, excuse me, on lawyers as the possibility of the full truth coming out is before them. Now, Donald is doing everything he can to silence the number one witness to the depravity of Jeff Epstein and her own. And we are talking about Ghislaine Maxwell. And so, why is he trying to silence her? And what is he doing? Well, the bottom line is, as today's thumbnail indicates, Alan Dershowitz spelled it out. Alan Dershowitz, former personal lawyer for Donald Trump, good friend of Jeffrey Epstein, had this to say on Fox News Sunday about Ghislaine Maxwell, who was, as you know, not just Epstein's paramour, but his pimp. She knows everything. She is the Rosetta Stone. She knows everything. She arranged every single trip with everybody. She knows everything. Okay. What was the context in which Dershowitz expressed this? It is that he is suggesting that the Trump administration grant Ghislaine immunity, complete immunity, in exchange for her speaking with them and perhaps to Congress. You might say, but she's already gone to prison. But obviously, that is on a limited number of charges, not with regard to every, as you may know, every single victim or in connection with every single perpetrator. Well, I hope that she does not get immunity, but I imagine not only will Donald Trump give her immunity via his Justice Department, but to shut her up, I think she will also get a pardon. Because there's only one other way to keep her quiet, and that would be keep her in prison forever or have her suddenly die in prison. Now, it seems to me that Maxwell has no interest in talking without a deal. She did not speak on the stand in her own trial, and one of her conviction was for perjury in connection with when she had spoken before about Epstein. Now, I want to be clear with this technique of Donald Trump's, right? What he is trying to do is the last ditch effort in his plan to turn attention away from and stop the release of more information or detailed files or records or objects related to Jeff Epstein. That's a fact. Now, I have some questions, and I just recorded an interview with Michael Cohen for his Mea Culpa podcast. We talked about this, and that will be going live just at 11:59 p.m. on Friday night on his podcast, right? Wherever you listen to your podcast, whether it's Apple or what have you. And then, of course, as you know, the following morning, Saturday morning at 11:30, it will be here live on YouTube. And I plan to be here with you, and I'll make comments in the chat for that. But let me get back to this. Why is Donald Trump hellbent on silencing Ghislaine Maxwell now? Donald Trump and MAGA and Don Bongino and all these people who subscribe to QAnon and so on have wanted exposure. They wanted everything out in the open. And even Donald Trump was campaigning on that. And that was the plan. He even had people at his White House holding binders that said, like, Epstein Files Part 2. They had a plan to do that. And something changed between March, when they started combing through the files, and July. Something happened that made Donald Trump suddenly say, oh my God, I'm not doing this. Now, it may have been that the whole time he had no intention of sharing this information, just like he had no intention of sharing his tax returns. But it may be that either information that he found out was in those files, or it may be that people like, who are mentioned in these files, people who are like, including people like Lex Wexner, who had a very unusual relationship with Jeff Epstein, like selling him a mansion for $1, or people like Leon Black and others who let Epstein manage a ton of their money. And maybe that those folks have sweetened the deal to keep this quiet. It also dawned on me, go with me on this. Okay, you might hear this here first. I'm not sure. But remember when Jeff Epstein was first charged back in around 2005, 2006? And he ended up serving time on state charges and served in a Florida prison. Remember at that time, the US government, the Department of Justice, entered into a settlement with him, a non prosecution agreement with him and his co conspirators and others. So they would not charge them with crimes defined up to that point. And I have not seen this non prosecution agreement. And I don't know if anyone knows who is in that NPA, but we do know that apparently Alan Dershowitz was involved. So query for a moment whether Donald Trump was included in that NPA or excluded. Either way, it's bad for him. If he is in this NPA and the fact of his immunity comes out, that makes him look bad. And if someone got to Donald and said, listen, dude, you didn't get coverage, that also may be disturbing. I don't know what's going on with Donald, but there are only two things Donald cares about, which is, and here are the two things that Donald cares about: Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin. Those are the only people that I have seen Donald Trump ever protect with this kind of rabidity. Is that a word? Okay. So thank you guys for these gifts. I am so grateful. I cannot see. Oh, Julia Cooper. That is so nice to gift people memberships. Thank you, sweetie. Okay. So let me tell you what is going on. And let me just also be clear. At 9:30, we have a fabulous guest joining us. It's very exciting. I'll give you a quick preview real quick so you stick around for this. His name is Mike Sachs. He is running for Congress in New York to unfuck our country. I know I'm not supposed to swear, but that's his campaign promise. I can't help it. Okay. So we'll be getting to him at 9:30. So we need to move through this fast, but it's going to be focused. So what the heck is this technique? What Donald Trump is doing, and you can see all the orange or the burnt umber Ds, it's all the Ds. He is, when it comes to anything where he looks guilty or is guilty or complicit or responsible, what does he do? Deny the charges in a Darvo manner, right? This is deny, right? Attack, reverse victim, and offender. So he's done the denial. The denial was, I have nothing to do with this. There's nothing to see here. And you, MAGA, who want this, you're stupid or you're idiots, you're weak. And it's also that kind of attacking the press. So he's done deny. Now he is also engaged in delay. What is the delay? We're going to talk about this in a moment. The delays are always, we'll give you something in a few weeks, or I'm going to ask a judge to release a grand jury transcripts, or oops, can't help myself. Congress is going into recess until September, so no one's going to be able to vote on demanding the release. So we've got deny, we've got delay, distract. Distract is obviously part of his MO, and he has thrown all this spaghetti in the pot at the wall to distract, and it's not working, right? Distract. So he has, though, enlisted Fox News, despite the fact that the Wall Street Journal has the same ownership structure, but Fox News seems to be complicit in this. Now they're only, like, they've been talking about Barack Obama like in a 20-to-1 ratio or 18-to-1 ratio, in terms of even talking about Jeff Epstein. So he's tried to distract with every possible thing, racist comments about sports teams, um, threatening, most recently, we're going to get into this, threatening charging Barack Obama with treason, which, as you probably know, treason is punishable by death. That's a big effing deal. Again, distract. How about diffuse? Diffuse is what he is trying to do now in two different ways. Diffusion is like, oh, he or other people were like, it's not a big deal. This is old. There's nothing new here. There's nothing to see here. Diffusing it when you have people go on TV and say, well, these were girls who were 17. That's not a big deal. That's not children. Well, that's not true, right? Diffuse. What is the last thing he's doing? Deceive. And of course, all these overlap. It's simultaneous actions, not linear. Okay, guys, these are happening all at once. What is a deception? This is just like how he did this involving, deception is the big lie, right? Just like he did this when he lost the election in 2020. The deception is creating an alternative reality. They did this with the Mueller report. Remember when Bill Barr wrote a page, a letter about the Mueller report? I immediately said, holy shit, it's really bad what's in this report, because I can read between the lines of what he said. And I published some pieces. I think it was in Politico. I was interviewed. But the press fell for it. They thought it exonerated, they thought this report exonerated Donald Trump when it came out in 2019. And then with the delay in actually releasing the full report, they engaged in deception. So I think the deception plan is moving forward now, where they're going to have Ghislaine Maxwell do something or say something and create some kind of report that makes it look like it's only Bill Clinton or people they don't like involved, perhaps. And there may be other outright lies. Now, one thing to say before I get into the evidence backing this up, guys, is as follows. Why do you think his central focus now is on Obama? I mean, he was at a press conference saying that the Republicans needed to claim that Obama cheated in the 2016 election. He is focused on what he calls the witch hunt, which was not a witch hunt. Russia actually did interfere in our election. There's evidence of that. Okay, that's a fact. Even it was, just to be clear, under the first Trump administration that information actually came out. Okay, so just to be clear, that was the Trump administration who released that. And it was bipartisan Senate commissions that released these reports. But why is he laser focused on Obama? Why is he threatening him with treason? Threatening that charges for treason will be brought against him. And it comes down to these two concepts that's just crystallized in my mind. In order to win back his base, Donald Trump needs to do two things. He needs to feed them red meat. And they hate Obama, right? So that's red meat, right? And part of the red meat is it's like red meat wrapped in bacon, where it's It's Obama wrapped in another conspiracy theory. He wants that. And the second thing that he does personally is revenge. He wants to serve them red meat and he wants revenge. And President Obama serves that purpose. So I have this slide to show you what I'm talking about. Red meat and revenge. And this fits in perfectly. And this is why I believe that Pam Bondi is going to charge Barack Obama with something. Remember, Donald Trump was indicted. I'm thinking now, it's hard for me to even remember. Was it 2 federal cases and 2 state cases? And am I getting this right? I mean, it could have even been more. And that he was convicted. The jury found him guilty on 34 felony counts for falsifying business records out of New York. And he was actually sentenced, although he did not get a incarceration or financial penalty. He is a convict. And he really wants revenge. And he believes Joe Biden weaponized the Department of Justice and somehow the states, Georgia and New York, in order to bring these charges against him, as opposed to him being a unrepentant criminal. Okay, so he wants revenge. I cannot imagine Donald Trump holding back on charging Barack Obama. He can't stand the man. In fact, just yesterday, he was saying he hoped to just erase his legacy. That's what he's trying to do. He likes to erase people. So this threat of treason, which comes with a potential death penalty, more on that in a second, doesn't surprise me. And let me talk to you for a moment why that fits his 5 Ds, the Donald tactics. Why is it part of Darvo? Well, he's denying that he was involved. He is conflating the Epstein case with every kind of thing that he says is a witch hunt, right, against him. And so then what is he doing? He's attacking and reversing victim and offender. He's saying, you fake news, you Obama and the Democratic establishment, even though it's his supporters who want this information, you are the bad guys. You guys are always going after me. And as he said in this really disgusting picture of himself in this kind of armor, now I was the hunted, he said, and now I'm going to be the hunter. So that's part of his Darvo strategy, right? With the Obama situation, delay. He doesn't have to, he's already delaying, he's already, we know, delaying the focus by having the recess. Distract. Obama is the biggest distraction for his base. How does it diffuse things? Well, he's already handling the diffusing with the Ghislaine trying to silence her and so on. And deception. This hits deception big time. He's trying to say it's all Obama. And if he can say it's always been Obama and try to link Obama to Epstein, and Obama was never on the so-called Lolita Express, but he will find a way to deceive and tie it into the Democratic establishment, tie it into Obama and Hillary Clinton, right? This makes sense. Okay, so this is his, what I've called red meat and revenge strategy. Now, let me bring to you some of those receipts. When it comes to, let's just start first with this new attack on Obama. I mean, first it starts with Tulsi Gabbard and her ridiculous allegations, and now we hear Donald Trump on this.
Tulsi Gabbard has submitted a criminal referral to the Department of Justice. From your perspective, who should the DOJ target as part of their investigation? What specific figures in the Obama administration?
Well, based on what I read, and I read pretty much what you read, it would be President Obama. He started it. And Biden was there with him, and Comey was there, and Clapper. The whole group was there. Brennan, they were all there in a room. Right here, this was the room. This is much more beautiful than it was then, but that's okay. I have nice pictures up. They came out of the vaults. They were in there for 100 years. This is much more beautiful.
Oh, come on. The White House looks like a whorehouse, but go ahead. No offense to sex workers.
We have the Declaration of Independence now in the room, which wasn't here. I guess people didn't feel too good about putting it here, but I do. But you know what? If you look at those papers, they have them stone cold, and it was President Obama. It wasn't lots of people all over the place. It was them too. But the leader of the gang was President Obama, Barack Hussein Obama. Have you heard of him? And except for the fact that he gets shielded by the press for his entire life, that's the one they look. He's guilty. It's not a question. You know, I like to say, let's give it time. It's there. He's guilty.
Okay. Let's just continue that. I just had to take a breath.
This was treason. This was every word you can think of. They tried to steal the election. They tried to obfuscate the election. They did things that nobody's ever even.
Okay. I can't listen to his nonsense. Donald Trump never went to law school, but he spends a shit ton more time in court than any lawyer I've ever known. Or not him, but he's incredibly litigious, as you know. So I want to ask you, do you even know what treason is? There's this thing I've always detested when people call someone a traitor or it's treason when they don't actually know what the statute says. So let's bring this up, friends. Mini law school. Okay. 18 USC 2381. Whoever owing allegiance to the United States levies war against them or adheres to their enemies, giving them aid and comfort within the United States or elsewhere, is guilty of treason and shall suffer death or shall be imprisoned not less than 5 years and fined under this title not less than $10,000 and shall be incapable of holding any office under the United States. So let's start. Let's just start with. Let me just blow this up for you guys again. Setting aside for a moment the Roberts Court decision that anyone who is a former president is most likely immune from any actions that he took in his official capacity. Let's just start with this. Whoever owing allegiance to the United States, of course, that would be a former president. Levies war. No, this was not a war. Or adheres to their enemies, giving them aid and comfort. I'm sorry. What in the world could this be about? You need a declared enemy. I guess I'm trying to think of right now who we are at war with. I guess we have never declared war against Iran, so technically we're not at war with them now. I'm trying to think way back. I'm not seeing who, when Barack Obama was president, we were, I guess we were in a war with Afghanistan. I'm not actually seeing it. Okay. He is, however, not being literal. I think he's talking about charging Barack Obama maybe with election interference. I don't think he's got his statutes on point. And I would like to share then with you what Barack Obama had to say in response to this. Here we go. Out of respect, so this is an official statement his office put out. Out of respect for the office of the presidency, our office does not normally dignify the constant nonsense and misinformation flowing out of this White House with a response. But these claims are outrageous enough to merit one. These bizarre allegations are ridiculous and a weak attempt at distraction. Nothing in the document issued last week undercuts the widely accepted conclusion that Russia worked to influence the 2016 presidential election, but did not successfully manipulate any votes. These findings were affirmed by a 2020 report by the bipartisan Senate Intelligence Committee led by then Chairman Marco Rubio. Okay, I would like to ask you if you remember who was president in 2020. Anyone want to guess? Ding, 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 ding. Donald Trump. What party does Marco Rubio belong to? I think you got this one, Republican Party. He is now the Secretary of State. This is all nonsense. What report came out last week is a straw man. They're claiming, which is not true, that Democrats somehow argued that Russia manipulated votes. That never happened. I mean, guys, as I told you, I read the Mueller report from cover to cover. I have printed out my own vellum-bound volume for myself when the PDF was available before you could buy the book online. And that's not in there. Okay, so, but by the way, that doesn't actually matter because it's about red meat and revenge. And his people they will fall for this deception. So let's talk more about the pieces around delay. Okay, so the next piece here we have, of course, is Mike Johnson. And Mike Johnson, as you know, in a cowardly way, decided to send the House into recess until I think September 8th or 9th after Labor Day. And he is claiming, that he's just given, the administration some breathing room, that this isn't part of a cover-up, that he's tired of hearing about the Republicans' failure at transparency. And also, of course, we have some breaking news about Ghislaine Maxwell. Again, this is part of silencing her. So I'm going to play for you that first.
Breaking news now from Washington this morning. As the Justice Department reaches out to convicted Epstein associate Ghislaine Maxwell, Congress is also angling to hear from her as well. Members of the Oversight Committee just took a key step towards forcing Maxwell to testify in front of Congress. NBC's Sahil Kapoor back in front of the camera for us. Sahil, where do things stand right now?
Yeah, a notable little twist here. A House Oversight Subcommittee just voted moments ago to approve a motion offered by the Republican Congressman Tim Burchett of Tennessee that would direct the committee chairman, James Comer, to issue a subpoena for Ghislaine Maxwell. Now, Burchett offered this motion at the beginning of an oversight subcommittee meeting. He didn't give details about why this, why now, but it does show that tensions are high. Republicans are dissatisfied. This issue is not going away. They're having problems in the Rules Committee. They're having problems getting bills to the floor. Republicans are demanding more transparency on this issue from the administration. And clearly now there's a desire to hear directly from Ghislaine Maxwell. Now, one of two things has to happen here in order for the subpoena to actually be issued. Either the chairman of the committee, James Comer, also a Republican, a close ally of Trump, issues it himself, or the full oversight committee has to vote in order to move this forward. We have reached out to the committee. We don't exactly know what they're going to do next. This news coming to us from our colleague Kyle Stewart. Ariel.
So that was really important news, but it blended two things. We have some members of the House Oversight Committee authorizing a subpoena to bring Ghislaine Maxwell in for a deposition, which is obviously under oath. And separately, we have the DOJ, or we have Trump's lawyer, Todd Blanche, who used to be his defense attorney, now inside the government, who wants to sit down and meet with Ghislaine's lawyers. As we talked about before, definitely this looks like a potential pardon or immunity deal. It couldn't have been more clear. From our thumbnail today, Dershowitz was trying to signal that she needs to be silenced. Let me again read for you what Alan Dershowitz said on Fox News on Sunday about Ghislaine. She knows everything. She is the Rosetta Stone. She knows everything. She arranged every single trip with everybody. She knows everything. Does she know everything? I guess so. Rosetta Stone, that means she can translate any kind of code. She can explain anything. When someone goes on Fox News to say that, Donald Trump listens because apparently it's not easy for him to absorb information in person or in writing. So this is the effort to silence her. Now, one last thing, because I see Mike Sachs is in our green room and I want to get him on stage ASAP, is I want to share with you from Rep. Jason Smith about the double standard here. Congress could try to get her in there. I think it's futile because I think she will not talk, but still, let's look at the cover-up some more.
Would you ever use subpoena power to try to find out more information about Jeffrey Epstein?
Well, you may use subpoena powers at any point. That is not a common thing that I have utilized within the Ways and Means Committee. But if I felt like that it was a priority for Americans, then of course. But like I said, this has not been something that's been a driving force. What people's cared about is the cost to put food on their table or the cost to put clothes on their backs. That's the focus they've had, or whether increase wages. And that is what our focus has been on the Ways and Means Committee. That's why we passed the One Big Beautiful Bill, did no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, tax relief for seniors, an increased child tax credit, increased standard deduction. We did all this for the American people because that's what we're hearing about.
But you did use subpoena power with Hunter Biden.
Exactly. We have the authority to use it, but that is the only time.
Okay. Nice job, Cassie Hunt. Now, before I bring Mike on stage, one last thing I want to address the financial issues because we do law, money, and snark, and we've done a lot of law here, but I want to do one last money thing. And I think this will be very important to Mike Sachs, who is running for Congress in New York as well. So
automobiles with tariffs on automobiles.
I keep having Mike talking there. Okay. So we have a clip of Scott Bessent, Treasury Secretary, lying through his teeth or deceiving people about what the tariffs are doing. We just saw that General Motors, I think, registered maybe $1 billion loss or $1 billion charge against earnings, something to that effect because of these tariffs coming in. But just to be clear, we know a tariff is a tax on imports. We know that in terms of paying the tax to the US government, the importer of goods actually makes a direct payment. In terms of who eats that, it can be passed along in the cost of the goods to consumers. And we're seeing, someone told me like Amy's burritos have doubled in price. We're seeing prices go up at Target because people who import or downstream retailers have to recover their costs and raise prices. Another way this can work out is the overseas exporter might lower their prices or give concessions to help pay for it. But the bottom line is Donald Trump has always been lying when he says that a tariff is a tax on a foreign country. It's not. So let's listen to Scott Bessent trying to deceive viewers of Morning Joe.
No, that the tariffs, the cost of tariffs on automobiles, which will begin, I don't know, August 1st or whatever, will be paid by people like me, the consumer. The question is, does the president realize the consumer pays the tariffs?
Well, I'm going to have to disagree with that. Who pays the tariffs is a choice. And what we've seen thus far is that the manufacturers are eating a substantial portion of the tariffs and taking it into their profit margins. So you might see, for instance, Toyota hasn't raised.
Okay. Toyota hasn't raised prices. Yeah, and he talks about how maybe they'll try to dominate a market. What about American manufacturers, man? What about General Motors? What's going on here? Also, Mike Barnicle isn't so easily fooled, and neither is my friend Mike Sachs. Not easily fooled, and he's got some breaking news for us today. Let me bring him up on stage. Hey, Mike.
Hey, Jen, thanks for having me.
So, I'm really excited to have you here. I want to share with you what I kind of pulled together about you. So here we go. This is Mike Sachs. Mike is running to unfuck our country. Also, from your website is this great header. Mike Sachs is a proud Westchester dad, driven to build a new house from the wreckage of Mike Lawler and Donald Trump. Okay, can you speak for yourself and tell me why you're running for Congress? And you can also, I saw you were in the green room. If you want to comment on anything that's in the news now, you go for it.
Oh, Jen, there's so much to talk about from every level of our federal government that's currently now commanded by this anti-democratic Trump regime. But you asked why I'm running for Congress. First, I want to talk about this breaking news that we just heard. So the Republican incumbent in New York 17, Mike Lawler, announced this morning that he is running for re-election here in this district. So Lawler was toying with the idea of running for governor. I think he really did want to. But, you know, Daddy Trump, a month or so ago, endorsed his run for the House. Why? Because, well, Elise Stefanik wants to run for governor, and she's a full-on MAGA, whereas Mike Lawler has only pretended to be moderate up here while playing MAGA and voting MAGA down in D.C. And
can I just jump in?
Yeah.
Stefanik got screwed out of her UN position in her fancy apartment in New York, so he had to give her something, right?
Yep.
So she's running for governor. I'm sorry. So Mike,
no, it's no problem.
The governor race is right now, right? Off year?
It's not. It's in the same time. That's why Lawler had to make this choice.
Oh, so it's the same year. Got you. Okay.
Yeah. And Lawler still thinks he can win this district, which was one of 3 districts in the country that went for a Republican in 2024 in Congress, but for Harris in the presidential. And Lawler still thinks he can do this whole moderate song and dance up here after he's tied himself to Trump's mast and showed his ass for the last, 6.5 months.
Right.
He voted for that big, ugly bill. In fact, he was the deciding vote to send it to the Senate. And that bill, as you just heard the other Republican congressperson talking just before,
right?
That bill, they've been trying to champion as this middle-class, wonderful thing when it really just stole from the vulnerable and robbed we the people in order to pay for tax cuts for the rich and Donald Trump's billionaire best friends. That's all it was.
So you're the better Mike. Mike Sachs is the Mike you want. Lawler is a liar. Mike needs to sack him or something. I don't know. I can't. I'm not good at these.
Those are good. Those are good. I can hire you as my comms team. But
yay.
I want to break this down because and we can get into we can talk.
Wait. I need to step for a second. My audience has, some of them know that Mike Lawler is their rep because they live in Westchester or the surrounding areas. But a lot of people who follow regularly may have family or friends. Can you tell me the towns that that will be your district?
Yeah, it is. This is, I live in this district. I'm right now a constituent of Mike Lawler's, among the very many angry constituents who don't like being lied to and treated like we're stupid.
Yep.
So this district is the northern half of Westchester County. We're north of New York City. Northern half of Westchester County, Rockland County, Putnam County, and a sliver of Dutchess County. And this district was redrawn in 2022 by a Republican-leaning special master, so really to make it easier for Mike Lawler to win what was traditionally a district that was a Democratic district. Now, it's very much a purple district in terms of its overall composition. But people don't like getting hurt. People don't like getting lied to. And what happens when Donald Trump is in power and Republicans are in power is they hurt people, they tank the economy, and then this is the funny thing they do. They distort our democracy to preserve their power because it turns out hurting people and tanking the economy is unpopular. So right now we are in the midst of the hurting people phase. The tanking the economy phase is going to come. It's going to come with the effects of this bill, what it does to local hospitals, what it does to jobs. It's going to come with the tariffs. It's going to come with whatever chaos Trump wants to unleash on the markets due to his various scams and grifts and corruption. And the distorting democracy has already begun, whether it's with the extreme partisan gerrymander in Texas, whether it's with the Supreme Court getting ready to kill off what it left standing when it gutted the Voting Rights Act in 2013. It's going to come perhaps when J.D. Vance is standing on the rostrum on January 6, 2029, and refuses to do what Mike Pence did, refuses to open the envelopes and says, make me. Right? Like, well, why else was he selected to be vice president? If not to just be Trump's bootlicker, but also perhaps help enable
before we get
term.
to the dystopia of the possibility of them trying to monkey with the results of the 2028 election, at least at the presidential level, you aren't, no one has to open an envelope to look at the Electoral College for Congress. So tell me what we know how bad Lawler is, and he is part of the Epstein cover-up, and we can get to that in a moment.
Oh, we can.
And I know that you used to be a news reporter, and so you were there. We can talk about this too, right after, outside the courthouse after Ghislaine was sentenced. But I want to ask you, what is, given how corrupt the system is in Republican hands, and everyone who listens to this, I hope, agrees with you. They want shared prosperity. They see how Donald Trump is trying to strip value through self-dealing and so on. We can look at the CBS deal. We know how this big bad bill is going to hurt people, and we will see it. So tell me what you are going to do boldly as well as incrementally with other like-minded Democrats to literally unfuck the system. What positive vision do you have, Mike?
Right. This is a great question that I am very excited to answer, because that tagline, that slogan that we have for this campaign, where we got some t-shirts with it too. If you can go to the website, MikeSacksForCongress.com, and sport that across your chest, walking around your various patriotic events. But right. This is the thing about what we need to do come January 3rd, 2027. The House is the one chamber of the one branch of the federal government where Democrats, both big D, the party, and small d, people who believe in democracy, which is largely coextensive at this point, that they can control, that we can control.
Right.
We're not going to get any laws enacted if the Senate isn't ours and if the White House isn't ours. But we can use the House as the people's PR firm. We need to return the power to the people, return our policymaking to the people, not to the president that we for too long ceded it to because of congressional gridlock, not to the Supreme Court, which people look to save us for too long before we realize, oh, the court doesn't save anybody but itself and its friends.
Right.
No, we need to reorient policymaking back to the people. What does that mean? So there's so many things that we have to restore and strengthen that the right wing has either blocked or taken away, from reproductive freedom to workers' rights, to voting rights, to environmental protection, the whole thing. And these are the nice things. These are the rights, freedoms, entitlements, and nice things that we could have if we're all in it together and if the majority actually was able to speak and get its will
for the general welfare. Now, let me step aside, because, I now teach at Wayne State in Detroit, and we have this thing called the Levin Center for Oversight
and Accountability, right?
Yes, and my friend Jim runs it, and you should come talk there. But the thing is, people forget that one of the things Congress's role, which is oversight. And so when you say the PR firm, even people think, well, what can you get done if you don't have the president, if you can't override a presidential veto? But this oversight role is flipping huge. It lays the groundwork. So can you talk about that?
That was the step 2, because this is the agenda, sorry. the unfuck agenda includes a legislative and an oversight plank, so that people can see that we are working for them, and we will stop at nothing to show that we are working for them. So the legislative plank is all the things Democrats want to do to restore our democracy and ensure our rights and freedoms are not just where they were, but but even stronger from before the Supreme Court and the president were attacking and taking them away. Think of it like but we need to package it. We need to show that it's all part of the same way to break the billionaire hold on the system they've bought to stop us.
Right.
Make it like Contract with America, but not stupid and evil. And from the start,
not a contract on America.
right. And right when we walk in, on January 3rd, 2027, we put this together. If we want to make it our own one big, beautiful omnibus thing of the nice stuff and rights and freedoms that we can have, we need to do that.
Right.
And we need to send it right over to the Senate. And when the Senate inevitably blocks it, either whether we somehow win the Senate because the map's terrible this year, but then there's a filibuster, whatever it is, you point at them and say, they are the ones stopping us from having nice things. They're the ones that are getting in the way of what we are trying to do for you. And don't stop screaming about it until January 3rd, 2029. Of course, there's something we have to scream about in January. Sorry?
I love this because it's part of the For the People, People's Party, general welfare. I want to ask you this thing. The Unfuck Project sounds like the People's Parody Project. Is that the Unfuck America? Do you know those people? And I think one of them, isn't she running for Congress?
Molly's a friend. Molly's running for a local government seat in Minnesota.
Molly Coleman, right?
Yeah, and she's wonderful. The similarity to our slogans is coincidental, but upon my coming out with the slogan, we commiserated over her own.
And everybody should do it. Let me just say, Molly, when I was visiting Harvard Law School, I love to mention that whenever I can, being a Harvard grad and a law professor being invited for a visiting name professorship, no big deal, no big deal. Molly was a student at that time, so she's awesome. Okay, I want to do some analogies here. We
didn't get to talk oversight yet.
Oh shit! But that's not now. We don't need to talk oversight.
Okay, fine. We're going to do aggressive oversight. Make a show of it.
Oversight is good. I need to do something spicy here, which is I am seeing, which I love, a younger generation, and I mean that both metaphorically and literally, saying, we need change. I'm seeing Zohran Mamdani. I'm seeing, people like AOC. I'm seeing you. And also I'm seeing the Democratic establishment not being the big tent I want. How do you, whether you are more centrist, more progressive, or hard, a Democratic socialist, how do you see the need for a big tent wherever you and your constituents lie? Because I think Westchester might be a little bit different than other places, maybe a little centrist. But how do you think we can do this big tent?
I think the way to show a big tent is to show that what the Democratic Party stands for everybody. We're not trying to leave anyone behind. We're not trying to make sure that some people get hurt on the backs of others. We're trying to make sure we have a fairer system that makes our country more prosperous, safer, secure. That is the big tent. And right now, when we're in a moment where we have a would-be autocrat threatening the entire American way of life, there are a lot of people that fit under that tent to go all in, all hands on deck to vanquish MAGA.
Now go to your oversight.
Get us to the next level. Yeah.
Your oversight. How can we do oversight to close the concentration camps or shine light on it? How can we do oversight to show how Donald Trump is grifting? And, even if the Supreme Court doesn't consider it illegal, how do we shine the light on this?
Yeah.
How would you shine the light?
It's really important not just to shine a light, but to highlight the actual people who are doing this to us.
Okay.
And to identify the antagonist, to show the bad guy. Do you remember, Trump was very effective with this ad towards the end of the campaign where he scapegoated trans people.
Oh.
The ad, Harris is for they, them. Trump is for you.
God.
And they've now used that pronoun issue to then as casus belli to pretty much try to attempt to wipe the existence out for trans Americans and trans people who just want to live in dignity and be free.
Precisely. Right. Right.
And so what this ad showed is that you can use that type of language for the greater good. Not what that ad did, but we can use that language. Remember Trump's dais on the inauguration? Remember them? Remember they who were sitting on the dais? Bezos, Musk,
he was, Zuckerberg. And Elon was kind of, zonked out of his mind. Yeah, Congress had to be behind the billionaires. Yeah.
Yeah, and we can have an ad that says Trump is for they, them.
I got your
Point at
pronoun.
those guys on the dais.
You know your pronoun. It's we.
Exactly.
You were going to say
we
that.
are looking to restore the people's house, a house that stands
Right.
for we, the people, and start from there. Because for too long, we have looked beyond the people to those who have more autocratic or anti-democratic powers to save us. But if we can look to and reorient back to the people's house where things begin and show, and you asked about the Big Ten, progressive, moderate, whatever. But if we think about the landmark laws that we have in this country, from Social Security to Medicare, to Medicaid, to Voting Rights Act, to Civil Rights Act, to the Fair Housing Act, even Obamacare.
Right.
Those are popular progressive laws that make this country more free and better. And once they are enacted, they are repealed at the political peril of their opponents, which is why the Republicans with Mitch McConnell went full on for flooding our campaigns with cash, went full on with extreme partisan gerrymandering, went full on with the Senate filibuster, and went full on with relying on the Electoral College, all to kill in the cradle these progressive policies that are actually popular across the political spectrum, so they can no longer get put into law. And what happens? What did McConnell know? What happens if somehow the people are able to overcome all those obstacles and make those policies law? You have a Supreme Court lying in wait to make stuff up, to strike them down. And so this entire agenda I'm talking about that starts in the House with this positive legislative vision fueled by aggressive oversight that identifies the bad guys, subpoenas them, makes a show out of it.
Right.
And if they don't comply with the subpoena, go get them and put them in the House jail with cameras following them all the way there. Have like a Monday through Friday agenda. Monday, the criminals. Tuesday, the corrupt. Wednesday, the incompetents. Thursday, the collaborators. Friday, TGIF. Trump's grifters, influencers, and fascists. Right? We can do something
like that
like
song.
that.
We can do that. We need to. What I like about what you're saying is, God bless Barack Obama, but a statement on paper doesn't cut it anymore in this viral era.
Obama tried very hard to show from start with Obamacare, even before then, to finish with Merrick Garland.
But I mean now. Right.
Sorry?
I'm sorry, but I mean right now, there's no leader. I could see you, being equivalent to an Eric Swalwell, where you're on the TV telling people, but we also need someone in leadership doing the same thing. But continue. I'm sorry.
No problem. And I was going to say with Obama, his tactic when he was president was to be, look, I'm trying to reach out in good faith. They keep biting my hand. Won't you learn? And he was punished at every turn by voters who were willing to buy Mitch McConnell's BS. Right.
This goes back to there's this. Sorry, go ahead.
But we need to show now in this era, post-Trump or during Trump even, we need to show that we are fighting and we are not stopping at any place. So when we send this legislative package over to the House, over to the Senate, when we send this legislative package over to the Senate and they kill it, we point at them and say, look what they did to you. Look what they're stopping. Right. When we do oversight and say, look, these are the people who are stopping it. These are the people who are hurting us and our constitutional liberties and freedoms. And then we pointed JD Vance for 2 years and say, are you going to open the envelopes, JD? What are you going to do, JD? And pointed to the Supreme Court. What are you going to do when JD says that the Electoral Count Reform Act is unconstitutional? What are you going to do, Supreme Court? What are you going to do? Train the people's eyes on what's happening before them so that we set ourselves up for electoral success in the next round. Because again, we won't be able to pass anything for the first. Yeah.
I 100% agree with you, but I've got 3 different topics. We warned people. Oh shit. We warned people about Project 2025 and everyone said, no, they're not doing that. And all it took was a denial. So if that's one issue. You can pick any of these. The second issue is taking the gloves off. I'm seeing governors say, you know what, let's redistrict just like the Republicans do. Yeah. So we don't, because Donald Trump is trying to do that. And finally, the last thing is not everybody pays attention to the fact that 100% of House seats are up for re-election every 2 years, 100% of them. Whereas in the Senate, there's these 6-year staggered terms. So the place to put our energy right now for the fastest change is the House. If you are in Westchester and those areas he mentioned, some of Rockland County, North Westchester, get out there. I think you should contribute to Mike Sachs. This isn't an ad. It's just my opinion. I also think you should, even if you don't live there, this is a race that's really, really important. Okay.
Yeah.
So now tell me about both how we deal with the lies that come back in the press, who just repeats the lies. Project 2025 is the agenda. It was the agenda. How do we lose on that?
So remember, that was all prospective. People were saying this is what they're saying they're going to do, but people are like, we care about price, cost of eggs, and that's fine. That's people vote also based on what's happening in their lives. The stuff we're talking about can be esoteric, ethereal, the democracy protection stuff when people are hurting.
Right.
But guess what's happened since people gave Lawler a chance again, gave Trump a chance again? The prices have not gone down. The policies they're putting forward will not affect their pocketbooks in a positive way. And they're also hurting our friends and neighbors and sending them out to third countries that they never came from in the first place. They're also having masked men go around the country to try to terrorize communities. They're also letting Congress and Lawler are letting Trump steal the people's voice and their money to, again, enrich himself and his friends. So when people see this happening, Trump and Republicans are not popular when they're in power. And the path to retaking the House runs through this district. You're talking about also, that extreme partisan gerrymandering has to be now done on both sides, one to offset the other. Right? Sure enough, true enough. And big money. People have to spend lots of money in campaigns, to win. Sure enough. But guess what? There's only one party. Even if both are engaging in it now because there's no unilateral disarmament, only one party's, when it uses power, will use it to make things fair and to get that stuff gone. So that we can have a system that works for all of us and representative democracy that represents all of us, no matter where we stand and what the political pendulum goes.
So Mike Sachs, you running for Congress in Westchester. I'm hoping you are going to be soon lining up the endorsements, although it's still a primary. So I imagine, I'm not going to name them. I imagine there may be other people running in the primary.
Yeah.
I don't care about them. But the important thing, I think, is the union endorsements and other things. What's the next step for your campaign?
Yeah. So let me just say something about this, because it is a crowded primary.
Okay.
And we all have, great things to offer. Really, I'm friends with most of the people that we're on the campaign trail with. But I'm the only one with this unique line of sight, having had a front row seat to how we got to where we are. I was quite literally the first in line to watch the Citizens United oral arguments at the Supreme Court when I was in law school. I was on air during January 6th. I had a front row seat when Jeffrey
Wait. Citizens United. There were two different arguments. Didn't they have a re-argument in that case?
It was the re-argument. It was Sotomayor's first day. It was September 9th, 2009. It was Kagan's first day as Solicitor General. And we all knew what was going to happen because John Roberts was doing what has become his patented two-step to destroy democracy.
Right.
So no, I was there. I saw it.
So I love that. You were front seat, front row, you have a law degree, you have a journalistic background. What else makes you unique?
I'm ready to bring it. This is something where people need to understand with Lawler. He fights dirty. And he pretends as though he's above the fray while hitting below the belt. And I'm ready to punch back. We need to get ourselves a congressperson who doesn't think we're stupid. Get us a congressperson who won't let Trump rob us blind. Get us a congressperson who won't deflect, defend, deny Trump's trying to cover up whatever it is that those Epstein files. Again, I had a front row seat. I was there when Epstein got walked in for his arraignment. I was inside the court when his victims were standing up and giving their victim impact statements that Epstein, by his death, they were robbed of finding justice. I was inside the court covering the Maxwell trial. I was there outside the court right after the verdict was announced, reporting for our audience in New York City what just happened.
I think you've got the goods, you've got the attitude, you've got the brains, you've got the the policy vision, and you also know how to manage media, which is essential in today's day and age. Now, before we go, Mike, at the end of my show, I do this thing every day called Crazy Town. Are you willing to play?
I mean, given that I've had Crazy Train running through my head for the past day after Ozzy died yesterday, and I was choosing between wearing my sleeveless Ozfest 2000 shirt that I put on yesterday, and I think I even slept in, but I didn't want to take off today, and wearing something a little nicer. I'm up for Crazy Town as well.
Yeah, so the internet is forever. So smart that you did not wear the Ozzy shirt or even bite into a bat. Okay.
It was a dove.
So
it was
here
a dove.
we go.
The bat was he thought was a rubber bat that was thrown on sage.
Oh,
and then
was
he
it
bit into
dove?
it and then he get rabies shots. Yeah.
Behind
the
okay,
music.
you don't have to do jazz hands,
resource.
but I'm gonna. Here we go. To do this, okay. So our Crazy Town video for today is the less than numerate Donald Trump explaining the mathematical impossibility of lowering prices by 1,000%. As people may know, you can go up, 100, 300, 400, 1,000%. But when you get to zero, there ain't no other place to go. So I'd love to play this for you and get your comments.
I'll try anyway, because they do lie terribly. We will have reduced drug prices by 1,000%, by 1,100, 1,200, 1,300, 1,400, 700, 600, not 30 or 40 or 50%, but numbers the likes of which you've never even dreamed of before. And we're working very hard right now.
Help me out, Mike. Is this the dumbest timeline we are in? How do we have such a moron?
It only gets dumber. And let me tell you, I believe was the first reporter to actually hold a microphone up to Trump's face and call him out on his lies during his first administration. When they were trying to sell the tax cuts the first time around. And he kept saying we are the most taxed country in the world. And that was a lie. But I was trying to be a little more charitable. And I said, how do you, if you need the credibility to sell these, why do you keep saying this objective falsehood? And then he said, well, people understand, I mean, the developed world. And then I said, well, why don't you say that? Also knowing that that was also a lie because that wasn't true
exactly.
either. And just let him sort of hem and haw before his press people realize, oh my God, he's digging himself into a hole, and then call the reporters off. So, I've seen and been hearing these lies as a member of the press and the advocacy community all along. And I've been seeing them go up through Congress and also now to the Supreme Court. And we need to understand, and Jen, we're on the same page with this. We need to understand that when we're pushing forward these laws that come from the agenda that's starting in the House on January 3rd, 2027, say on the back of that vision, on that energy in that agenda, we can take the White House, take the Senate, nuke the filibuster, because the filibuster only protects Republicans from passing laws that will get them thrown out of office, but it prevents us from doing good things that people like and then are unrepealable, except if you capture the courts. Right? We need to be able to pass these laws, enact them, and everything that we put forward in this agenda is a fastball at this Supreme Court's head, daring them to make stuff up, to strike stuff down because they think Democrats are unconstitutional and illegal. Right? But the entire agenda is, again, starting with the House, get the momentum, reorient towards the people's house, and then several election cycles, because that's what it's going to take, several election cycles. We get to the point where we can actually deliver for the people. But every single day until then, we never let people forget that we are working for them. That's how we have to get there. That's how we have to get there.
Well, thank you, Mike. We have come to the end of the show, but I'm going to make sure I regale everyone with images from your campaign on our way out. Thank you for joining me. And I guess I'll see you on social media.
All right, Jen. Happy to be here.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Hello, prison mates. It's the Jen Taub show. Well, welcome everyone. Let's learn about what is happening in politics yesterday and today. There was hope, and we are together in this democracy we work for. And again, welcome to the Jen Taub show. Hello, prison mates. It's the Gen Taub show. Well, welcome everyone. Let's learn about what is happening in politics yesterday and today. There is hope, and we are together in this democracy we work for. And again, welcome to the Gen Taub show.